For the next assignment, you will need to know how to roll a ceramic slab. In this session, we're going to show you how to roll that as quickly as possible. At the end, you should have something that looks like this, that is a nice even thickness throughout. Okay, it shouldn't be big and lumpy in the middle and thin on the sides, or vice versa. It should be one nice even thickness throughout. At the end, you're going to make sure you write your first initial, your last initial, your table that you sit at circled, and the last initial of your teacher. In this case, this was Mrs. Gross's class. Okay, so to start, the materials you're going to need are the ceramic rolling board that looks like this. It has the canvas on it. You're going to need 2 rulers. Notice they're double thickness rulers. You can see there's one here and 2, and they're taped together. This is for making sure that their slab is the same thickness all the way throughout. You're going to need your rolling pin to roll it, and you'll get a pre-cut chunk of clay that looks, something like this. And you will need a popsicle stick to cut it at the end. So, starting, you're going to start with your piece of clay like this in your hands here, pushing down in the center, and you really do have to push. You can almost hear the straining in my voice as I'm pushing down and rolling it from the center back towards me and from the center out away from me. Once you've done it once, get your fingers underneath, pull it up, and flip it over so that the clay doesn't stick to the canvas. What happens is, as the canvas board is sitting here and the clay is here, it's getting squished in, and then the clay doesn't want to stretch from one side to the other. So take your hands again, start in the middle, roll forward, and roll towards you. And you can see that I am having to strain, and the board is sliding around. Do it a little bit, flip it over just like we already showed you once, and then do it again from the center out to the end and back towards me. And you want to make sure that by the end you've got it fitting your piece of paper perfectly. This is our piece of paper. Each class or session might use a different size depending on what project we're doing. If we're doing a cityscape or an African mask or a slab box, each of them have different shapes. So just make sure that your clay fits your paper. Now this clay, as you saw, was long enough now, but not quite wide enough, so I'm going to turn it this way, and then I'm going to kind of do the same idea, start in the center and roll it out to the side, start in the center, roll it back towards me, move over here to the end, start in the center, towards me, and out away from me, flip it over. And notice each time I get done, I flip it over, check here, it's just about the right size. So at this point, we bring in our double-faced rulers here. You set it next to your clay, and this will ensure that you've got a nice even thickness of your slab. If I turn my slab on its side now, you can see it's just a little thicker than my ruler. If I use these rulers on each side, it'll be an even thickness all the way throughout. So I'm going to start again right in the middle and roll it out away from me, and you can almost hear now I'm hitting the rulers, and here if I lay it on the clay, it's not hitting the rulers because I haven't squished down far enough already. So I'm going to squish this edge and pull it all the way to me. If your clay gets a little farther, like this one's kind of coming off, just slide your rulers down and go all the way off to the edge of your artwork board. Okay. So you've got a nice even thickness. Now if I take these rulers and I tilt this up, you can kind of see that the clay is one nice even thickness. Now simply take your piece of paper, your paper template, lay it on top, kind of hold it down the best you can. Use your popsicle stick. I suggest you use a popsicle stick, not one of the knives, because the knives are kind of bendy and flimsy, whereas the popsicle stick is nice and stiff and it allows you to cut pretty well. Okay, I'm going to take this and just chop the end off here and set it aside. Trim this edge here and set it aside. Trim the bottom edge. Now these pieces that I'm setting aside, if we have time, you'll use those, or you can reuse them on your artwork. If not, we're going to put them into the wet clay bucket on the side of the room right where the ceramic tools are. Okay, so I'm just going to set these aside for now. And you can see now that this is nicely, evenly cut into the right shape and size. I'm just going to turn this here, and I'm going to use a pencil. I'm going to write my first name, Mr. I'm going to write my last name, Lundgren. Let's pretend I sit at the violet table. Circle your table letter, and let's pretend I'm in Mrs. Gross's class. Okay, so I've got Mr. Lundgren sits at the violet table in Mrs. Gross's class. Okay, so that's what it should look like when you're done. Depending on what class you're in, we'll have to put these away in different orders, and I will tell you exactly where and how to put it away depending on what class you're in. And that is the demonstration of rolling out a ceramic slab.